Certainly hoping to start picking things up in the baseball streets, and maybe tonight is the night with these weird slates. And we've got we're gonna be touching on the early slate, the middle slate, and the last slate during this show. But the main thing will be the focus for the main slate. I don't even know that I'm going to be able to get builds in for the turbo one at 10, but I thought I could just touch on it really quickly if we want to pull your screen up, or I can pull mine up either way.
Okay, I'll pull up my screen. Maybe I'll build one right here on the spot. How about
that? Why not? Why not?
Let's do this. So let's share my screen here. I will not be doing sheets for this, by the way.
Yeah. This is. I mean,
and I'm having a headache trying to figure out what to do about FanDuel because there's 75 different slates. I might just bag the whole thing until the main.
I'm just playing the main on FanDuel.
As far as sheets, I can't figure it out. It's like a very early. It would literally like fry Evan's brain, I think, to try.
I think that we don't like. Look, if Sheets' projections aren't up for everything, first of all, we usually have goldies for almost all slates, and then we also have the SaberSim projections. So it's not like we don't have other options.
Sheetbot said true DFS NBA projections have been updated. They should be available on SaberSim in a few weeks.
Okay, so the turbo that starts in an hour.
Yeah.
Like there's the only tournament I could play is like $30 for first. I think.
All right, let's skip the tournament. Let's skip that one then. This slate because I don't think it's interesting enough. I don't think enough people are playing it. I know that like. If you want some notes, you know who you can talk to. Talk to Adam Perry in the premium Discord. That guy knows what's up, and he tends to play those crazy little slates. We could talk about the early slate now with the.
I don't know why the other one's considered the main. I think there are more games on the early one. I'm not sure. We'll see.
And Connor in the chat saying, "Do we talk golf?" We talk about golf all the time. All I want to talk about is golf, but we've got a baseball slate to deal with to try and pick, and we can't.
Yeah, we talk golf when it's relevant. It's not relevant anymore because the lineups are in.
Yeah, well, I mean, it'll be relevant before Showdown tomorrow, but like that's not right now. And I'll probably touch on that during the NBA today because I don't think that I'm gonna.
We could touch on my 30% Zalatoris exposure. We could touch on that if we want. I don't think I really want to. What do you think about that?
Talk about that one. All right, so here we go. So this is the afternoon slate, okay? The 3 Eastern time slate. And it's actually a pretty good slate. It's not a lot of great tournaments, but there's, it's a pretty good slate anyway. So going through, we'll go game by game on it. I think that the first one up you're going to have is your Yankees in Baltimore. And I am, as usual, going to pay very close attention to the weather. I'm looking at leaks in my things, and I think it's possible that maybe I've respected some pitchers too much, and maybe I haven't respected the weather. Maybe I need to respect the weather either a little less, or yesterday's case, and maybe a little more in relation to San Francisco, because that just didn't get me. Anyway, but you do have it's 58 degrees in Baltimore. We have winds blowing in slightly. This is not the same Hitters Park that it was a few years ago when they moved the fences back. It's a little bit better than it was last year from what I'm seeing, from what I'm hearing, but I'm not all that interested in this game. And initially, you'd think this would be a good spot to attack, but I don't like the situation with the weather. I think it ends up being somewhat of a bullpen-ish game. Having said all that, like if you wanted to stack either or both of these teams, I'm absolutely not going to say it's wrong. I would just say I'd be a little bit higher on lefties in general, and both these teams are pretty righty heavy, and they're going to be very popular. So my feeling is to maybe try to get away from this one. But I might revisit that a little bit later because you do have some serious power upside, on both sides. And I would just try and make the primary guys the lefties in this game. That would be my strategy.
I don't know. I kind of like the Yankees.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
Not gonna argue with it.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Yankees here. As far as the pitching goes, I don't like Dean Kramer or Schmidt, but I don't know. I kind of like the Yankees.
All right. Well, so the Yankees as a tier down for me. Sheets has got them up in the top tier. It sounds like, or near the top tier. Going over to Philly and Cincinnati. I think Zach Wheeler is clearly one of the best pitchers on the slate. You always want to attack Cincinnati outside of Cincinnati. And I think Philly is a tremendous stack with one big notable exception that I think Hunter Green is a tremendous play too. So I think Hunter Green's talent level is insane. He just gets wild and he can get hit. Because of that, I'm going to have the Phillies and Hunter Green both in play for me. Obviously not in the same lineups, but I do like the Phillies as a stack that is not going to get particularly high ownership. And I think that Hunter Green has a wide range of outcomes, which is what I want to attack. So low-owned Philly stack is definitely on the board for me. The one thing that's kind of killing it for me is, again, 10-mile-an-hour winds, 59-degree weather, winds blowing in from left field. So I would say Philly lefties, which they don't have as good of lefties as they did. You know, it's a little different with Bryce Harper out of the lineup. So Phillies lefties and Zach Wheeler are two priorities, and Hunter Green is a really good tournament play in my opinion.
Yeah, the way I have this rated, I have Wheeler as my top pitcher by a lot, but he's going to get owned quite a bit as well.
Yep.
And then underneath that, I have like a bunch. I have like two guys kind of tied for the SP2, and one of them is Hunter Green. But between the two guys I have listed, Hunter Green definitely has more upside because of his because of his strikeouts. So I think naturally the Wheeler Green combination is the chalky way to start to start your builds in this slate. I don't have either. Well, I shouldn't say that. I mean, I actually do have Philly as viable. I have the Yankees as my number 2 stack. I have another one, number 1, and then I have Philly just kind of right below them. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I might take a shot at that. So I do like both the pitchers, but for kind of a sort of contrarian stack, I'll take Philly.
Yep. So same board on the same page on Philly with us. All right. The 1:10 games at 4:10 Eastern, Seattle, Cleveland. Cheeks, why don't you start this one off? Because So I mentioned it's kind of like this glut of kind of secondary options aside from, well, there's Wheeler, there's Green, there's another guy we'll get to, and then there's a bunch of others. And Savali I have is kind of in the bunch of others. And Logan Gilbert, I have him below all of it. I think I'm having these issues with Seattle starters and their minutes in their innings. So I'm not getting to Gilbert. So if you want to play something a little off the board, I imagine Savali. I have him very much lower owned than a lot of the guys, but he definitely is second tier. So I'm not in a big hurry to play him as a priority. But again, if you want to get off the board, I think that's fine. And as far as the hitting goes, I'm not really getting to either Seattle or Cleveland. So I guess I'm basically passing this game. Yeah, it's an ugly weather game. Either one. They're 43 degrees, 9-mile-an-hour winds blowing in from center. I mean, you just can't make up these horrible hitting conditions. They're just awful. I think because of it, both pitchers are completely relevant. Something feels wrong with playing like Savali over Gilbert to me. I don't know where the perception is coming from entirely on here. I mean, Gilbert threw 85 pitches his first start. It was pretty much the same as anybody else does. Basically, actually above average for that. And he's a really good pitcher, and it was against this team, unfortunately, and he put up 22 fantasy points. And I think both these pitchers are fine. I would rank Gilbert ahead of Savali. Just much better strikeout stuff. Tougher to strike out team. I ordinarily would like to play Seattle in this matchup. 43 degrees with the wind blowing in. What am I really getting out of it? And who can I get for stolen bases? They cost a fortune. Maybe if you wanted to play, I'm always going to have interest in the Cleveland guys on smaller slates, especially because that speed upside, they'll run Rosario, Ramirez, and Kwan like crazy. So that top 3 is always going to stand out as being potentially interesting. But Gilbert's one of the most efficient pitchers in baseball. Doesn't walk anybody really. What did he have the game sheets where he had? I think he didn't have his first ball until the 4th inning of a game. And he struck out 8 guys, 8 out of the first 9 guys. I think he threw his first ball in the 4th inning or something like that in a game last year. But yeah, both pitching is the long and short of it for me for this one. Another bad weather game coming up. It depends on which one you have. Houston, Minnesota.
Yeah, Houston, Minnesota. Bad weather is with respect for hitting or just for
49 degrees, 8 miles an hour blowing in, just not ideal.
Yeah, I like them both. I like Sonny Gray as kind of a secondary option. I like Urquidy as a secondary option. So I think they're both low owned. And I think given the fact that you tell me the weather is bad, I think they're both pretty reasonable. And also, given the fact that weather's bad, I think that I'm going to be off of the hitting. So,
well, most importantly, we need Houston to win this game, right? Like
that would be nice, wouldn't it?
we want to keep those survivors alive. We need 2 out of 3 in this series from Houston. Yeah, I agree. Both pitchers totally in play for me. If I had to pick anything, it would be, again, the lefties. I don't particularly want to attack Sonny Gray or Urquidy, though, so I'm just probably off the hitting in this game. Of course, that's going to be the highest scoring game of the slate now that I said that. Yeah. All right. So we got the White Sox and the Pirates. A little bit better weather hitting-wise, even though it's not a great hitter's park. 54 degrees. First game over 50. 10 degrees blowing out to right center. Just for what it's worth. For what I'll be doing, I'm always a sucker for Giolito. There's actually a pretty good number of like similar rating pitchers on this slate, right? Like everybody here is sort of similarly rated. And I'm sort of I actually believe a little bit in this Pittsburgh lineup. I think they're like the sneaky team that could be better than everybody thinks by the time the season's over. I still think that I like Giolito, and I think that my stack, boy, it sucks because I'm a big Rich Hill guy in general. I just never know what form he's in early in the year. And I think you've got some interesting stack options on the other side with Tim Anderson, awesome against lefties. Luis Robert, same thing. Andrew Vaughn, tons of power there. Then you get the Berger, Moncada in there. So it's a nice stack to build against lefties. And for me, I think I am going to have the White Sox right there with the Phillies, and they're going to be a little more owned. So maybe you combine the two, but those are my two looks right now. I want the White Sox. I want the Phillies. And I have a little interest in Giolito here.
I have the White Sox as the highest rated stack, and I also have them the highest owned by a pretty decent margin, which is a little bit annoying.
For what it's worth, Goldie has them at a little bit lower owned, or right in a similar range to the Yankees, pretty much.
Yeah. But what I'm interested in is you're telling me the wind might be blowing out a little bit?
Just a little bit.
I mean, Mr. Giolito can give up some home runs. So I kind of would. I don't want to say I kind of like the other side. I kind of would be into both sides of that. You know what I mean? Like I think Giolito always has upside, but he also has upside for the hitters. So I'm kind of into maybe game stacking this a little bit. I'll probably end up with both sides of this. Now the Pirates don't really rate all that well.
Yeah,
but I have this feeling that the wind is not being considered at all.
Well, it's not that much wind. I just want to make it. It's just better. It just looks good compared to every other game on the slate.
Yeah, so I think I might be interested in a little bit of the Pirates. So I'd like the White Sox, but I think the ownership is a little bit fishy. But I do like the Pirates. I'm not going to quite do the Giolito 8,900, but he certainly can get 40 as he's done plenty of times.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, Rich Hill was pretty good in his first outing this year, from a DFS perspective, anyway.
Well, how about the best offensive team in baseball? How about the San Francisco Giants?
Hey, man, it happens every year. We never know how it's going to happen, but all these guys come back, and you start seeing names that were hot prospects a few years ago and that are finally coming into their own with the Giants. I feel like the Giants just revive people. Actually, you know what? I'll give the credit to the Dodgers, too. They both revive people. So what do you think about what are your thoughts here? You have San Francisco in a day game, and is it possible? No, it's not. It's 55 degrees. It is. It's the warmest game on the slate in San Francisco. Sheets. We don't see that very often.
I can't play them off of 16 runs, but they do rate to be the best value on the board. So I'll let you play them. So Conforto, Wade, Yaz, I think, got the day off yesterday, but he would probably look good. This Blake Sable guy, Jock Peterson. I mean, all these guys are rate really, really well. I just can't play them off of 16 runs. On the other side, Kansas City. Yeah, I mean, I would take a shot at that. So is it two kind of similar things? Like the Pirates are going to show up as like a really, really good play. Excuse me, the White Sox are going to show up as a really good play. Maybe I'll hope the weather's pretty good and play the Pirates. Same thing. San Francisco's showing up as really good. Maybe I'll play Kansas City. So again, this is the way I'm thinking about these slates. And I actually had San Francisco in a couple of lineups yesterday. Couldn't quite get the right, the right complement or whatever.
Yeah.
But those are fun when it's like top of the fourth, and they have like 10 runs or something like that.
Somebody wrote me after it was the wrong Tigers catcher hit a home run off of Sale yesterday, but it was early. It looked like they were going to get to him. They're like, "Oh, you nailed it! Like the catcher hit the home run and everything." I was like, and he's 1% owned. I was like, "Oh, it's a different catcher," than the one I had, of course. So anyway, I'm with you. I'm with the idea. I'm with the idea of San Francisco. I actually think Alex Cobb's a good pitcher. I don't know how much of KC I'm going to get to today. I do think you're going to have a chance to run on him, which wasn't always the case in the past, although you've been able to more like lately, but people just don't run as much, so it's hard to know. So Bobby Witt, of course, makes some sense. You have some cheap options with Dozier and Olivares. You've got the spend ups with the catchers and Perez and Melendez. You can always play those guys together. So I'm this is probably not the slate where I'm going to be stacking Kansas City, but I'm going to try and find places for them in a number of my lineups going forward.
Even though it's righty, I'll take some Reyes power too.
Some Reyes.
Yeah,
absolutely. If he's in the lineup,
right.
Yeah. I think that Cobb is fine, and I think San Francisco is probably my third favorite team today. It is their home opener. I don't care if they scored a bunch of runs yesterday. They got out there on the plane. They're going their home opener in San Fran. Always a beautiful place to play, and that's that. And I want to say what's up to everyone in chat. We're just sort of going through all the games because of the different slates, so it's a little tricky. But if there's any questions or anything, throw them on in there, and I'll try to get to those. But now I think we can move on to the main slate, which is 5 games. Oddly enough, we have 6 games on the secondary slate and 5 on the main.
That's what I was saying.
What's that? Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. The one what's called the main, but it's okay. And then let's pull this up. Let's pull up this lineup. No, I got it. Just give me a second because I got to pull up that sheet. But you can start with the first game. I'll be there in a second.
Okay. The first game. So I've got Atlanta and San Diego. Wait, what is this? So I'm confused. So DraftKings, the start time is 7:20, and FanDuel, the start time is 6:40. Okay.
I have it 7:20 as well.
On FanDuel?
No, I'm just.
Yeah, but I'm just double checking because the FanDuel one we should talk about. We should touch on it. Just 6:40 on FanDuel.
Looking at DraftKings.
So yeah. Well, no, but 6:40 is when the other game starts on FanDuel, so it's important to notice that.
Oh, okay. What game starts? 6:40.
There's a 6:40 game tonight. It's you throw a lot at me trying to juggle this stuff. The A's and Rays. Yeah, why a game in Tampa Bay starts at? Yeah, I guess they're going to do that. Yeah, Tampa and Cleveland will do that sometimes. Anyway, so speaking of the DraftKings slate, and then I'll touch on FanDuel real quick after this, and I'll of course do it in our Discord. So the no pitching for me in the first game. Just double checking the weather here because it feels like all systems go for stacks in this one. You do have a little bit of rain conditions. There's a lot of wind. It's going across the field right now. This is a game that I feel like I want both sides of, but I think it's going to be popular, and I think that you're going to have weather issues which may counter its popularity. So actually, it's looking like it's not going to be that popular. Anyway, I like this game if it plays. We'll probably know a little bit more about that later today, but I am on board with San Diego and Atlanta.
Yeah, I have Atlanta right now as currently ranked number 2. Probably about 2 or 3 as far as my favorite stacks. And the pitchers, I don't have any San Diego at all. So that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I have Atlanta ahead, but I like them
just Atlanta or nothing.
Pretty similarly for me. All right, do you want to start off St. Louis and Milwaukee?
Yeah. So I have Woodruff as tentatively the best pitching option on the slate right now, and it's by a pretty decent amount actually. And then also you have Jack Flaherty, who I have him rated pretty darn. I have an SP. I have SP2s. I have a couple of different options. I have, basically just 2 actually. He's I think one of them. So I definitely like him a lot. So both pitchers from this game I like, and I guess by that token, I don't like any of the hitting. So I do like Flaherty, I do like Woodruff, and that's it.
I like Woodruff. I'm open to Flaherty, but I have a little more interest in Milwaukee's lineup than Flaherty possibly. And I'm just going to take a quick look because I do think it's important. Because this is who they play most. Like they play this team 20% of the time almost. It feels like anyway. It's not really that much, but it's what is it? A little 15% of the time. So they've had some experience in Flaherty. Actually, it's only 76 appearances. They've basically hit the hell out of them. 13 extra base hits in 76 appearances. That's a lot. 10 walks in 76. That's a lot. Adames, Winker, Yelich, all those guys are interesting to me. So I like Woodruff, and I'm definitely okay with the Milwaukee stack today. And it's also like nice to have a dome. It's a good hitter's park and low ownership. So I'm very interested in Milwaukee. In fact, if you looked at their Vegas run line and everything else, you would think Milwaukee would be behind the Colorado game and behind Atlanta and San Diego. But because people want to play Flaherty, I actually think that they end up pretty unowned on this slate. So I like them as a contrarian stack.
They do rate, by the way, Milwaukee as my top leverage stack on the board.
Yeah.
Which makes sense for the exact reason you just mentioned. I mean, Flaherty's going to show up as like a natural SP2. So playing Milwaukee is going to get you double leverage. And that's actually a situation where I wouldn't mind doing that. So yeah, I'm kind of in. I like both. Listen, I like both pitchers, but I don't like the Milwaukee hitting. Excuse me, I don't like the St. Louis hitting, but I definitely like the Milwaukee.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. All right. We got the Coors game now, Sheets. Go ahead.
Okay.
And it's a good and they're good matchups today, more than usual. Just not great hitting weather. Not like terrible, bad, just bad for Coors.
Okay. So we have here's not the problem. The problem is I don't even have either of these teams rated as the top stack, much less the top, when you factor in ownership. So I'm not neither Washington nor Colorado. Washington, I have a little more interest in. Actually, I have them both the same. Probably going to end up fading both of them. I'll go right back to Mackenzie Gore. Why not? I had a little bit of success with the with the Josiah Gray nonsense yesterday, and and we'll I don't know. I kind of like this a little bit as a contrarian play. Let Colorado put up a run before I'm afraid of Coors. How about that?
Sure, fair enough. Yeah, I do. I mean, obviously, like this, it's Colorado. I like the attacking Urena, especially. I'm happy to attack Mackenzie Gore. I think you're going to have more ownership on. I think it's going to be on the Washington side, actually.
Absolutely.
I do prefer Washington for what it's worth, but look, they're going to be in there for me as role guys and not full stacks of either of these teams. I just don't play that way. I will do it on some slates where it makes some sense, but this is not one of them. And I will be, I'll be lower than the field. I'll put it that way. I'm not in this game, but I will probably find some pieces because there's like value pieces in this game that I don't mind using with my stacks.
This is by the way, you guys want to know what the winners are? Like this on my screen. This is the winning bill. This is what it is. You play Milwaukee leverage against Flaherty, and then you play Mackenzie Gore as your SP2 leveraging against Colorado. That's the way.
Oh my God. Then you actually could play Washington if you wanted to, and you'd be off the board enough.
That's what I tried yesterday, and they couldn't score either. Colorado's like the worst hitting park in the league.
Well, it's just hard. Yeah, I mean, right now everywhere sucks. So
one game sample size. That's it.
Yeah, wait till it's 90. Maybe we wait till the games are 90 plus in Colorado or something to start playing there. Of course, then they're like 90% on. All right, Toronto and the Angels. Boy, tough matchup for Patrick Sandoval. It's 62 degrees, a little bit nicer down south. Been really, really pretty up here in Santa Barbara. It's 62 degrees, the wind blowing out 10 miles an hour to center. Look, this is going to be a theme this year that you're going to see when you have the Blue Jays on the same slate as the Rockies as a game in Coors. I'm just going to side with the Blue Jays. I would rather them be in Toronto, as you mentioned, with an awesome hitter's park that maybe it'll take people a minute to catch on to, with the fences coming in. But I really like the Blue Jays, even though I have some respect. I don't entirely just think like we're talking about they're facing an easy matchup. It's just You give me anybody but an exceptional lefty, even an exceptional lefty, and Sandoval can be exceptional at times. I'm just going to want to stack Toronto. It just everybody makes sense to me. So I have Toronto along with San Diego and Atlanta as my priorities. And then I also am open to the other side of this game with the Angels. Bassett is interesting. Like I could see playing Bassett, and I could see also playing the Angels. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get to the Angels because the prices are so outrageous for a team that scores like 3 runs a night. But I think I think Bassett. I'm more leading Bassett, but I'm open to both sides of this game. I don't want to bury it. I like Toronto a lot.
Yeah, I don't think I need to play Toronto today. I think I got better options than this. But certainly Toronto's always in play. I would rather think Bassett than the Angels, but I don't think I'm going to play either of them. So I'll watch you play the Torontos, and I'll root for you.
I appreciate it.
So if you wouldn't mind, by the way, like as long as you're going to play Toronto and root for them, I'll play all the Dodgers. How about that? So I'll play all the Dodgers against Bumgarner, and I'll pair them with the Milwaukees and play Woodruff and Gore, and then be kind of off to the races. But before we do that, I want to talk to you about Kershaw, because Kershaw, I need to get your take on what his leash is and what's going on here, because he would be the obvious, very natural Woodruff pivot, and also, the possibility you play them both. Now the thing is, I see him with like 45% ownership, which to me means he probably has a leash. You know what I mean? Like it's probably a good play. But I want to get
what the word leash means, what people think it means this time of year. So I think we need to clarify like some of that stuff, because there's this perception. Everybody's throwing 85 pitches. Like there's a few guys who have a little bit of a longer leash. Everybody's throwing similar pitches. Kershaw's most likely just going to pitch 6 innings, and that'll be that. That's my take on it. He's so effective.
I'll put it another way. You think he's got the similar pitch count as Woodruff?
No, of course not.
Oh, well, I don't know. You said everybody's pitching 85 pitches.
Well, Woodruff is one of the exception guys, though.
I didn't know. Okay.
Yeah. No, Woodruff. No, I don't think he has anywhere near the leash. I don't even know if he has it's funny though, because we talked about the Seattle pitchers. Like Kershaw's leash is no longer than theirs is.
Right.
Like he had the same leash as George Kirby and all those guys. Like he threw 76 pitches his first outing. He was cruising, and they pulled him after 6. You're probably looking 5 or 6 innings and a win with 6 or 7 strikeouts most of the time here.
Yeah. So in any case, the Dodgers are my top rated stack. I imagine they'll be. Well, I'll be thankful that there's Washington, Colorado. Otherwise, I mean, there are certain pitchers that just people love to play against. People stack against Greinke 24/7, and they stack against Bumgarner 24/7, and I'll probably be one of them. I'm just hoping that the Washington, Colorado game soaks in a little bit of ownership away to not make them complete chalk. But that's where I'll do. And I presume you're not going to have a problem with any lefty nonsense or whatever. I don't really care. While Bumgarner certainly has tricks, even though he's 57 years old, and the Dodgers are not maybe the same team as they were, I'll still take my chances.
To be completely honest with you, Bumgarner has pretty elite numbers against this Dodger team. Now the problem is some of those are going back like 7 years when he was awesome. But it's getting to the point where it's not all going back that far. You know what I mean? Like it can't be. I do like the Dodgers, obviously. I don't know what the weather is going to happen. I don't know if we have official word whether or not the roof will be open yet. But I very much like the Dodgers. The idea for me, and that's why I mentioned the San Diego, Atlanta, the Toronto, the Milwaukee, because I want to play these guys with the Dodgers. And I want the Dodgers and one of San Diego or Atlanta played with Toronto and Milwaukee. And I think you can get low enough ownership that way with those stacks on this slate.
I can play Mookie Betts at second base. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and it's legit. He does play second base sometimes. For what it's worth, I am probably just going to pay up for Kershaw and Bumgarner as of right now.
You mean Woodruff?
Kershaw and Woodruff right now. Am I missing something? I've got Spencer Strider as now starting. Is that real?
Could be.
It's going to be a bullpen game for Atlanta. If Spencer Strider starts,
then we have to go back to the beginning.
Yeah, I think if Spencer Strider starting at, well, it's a 4.7 run total. They're not assuming Spencer Strider is starting this game. But
if Spencer Strider is starting,
then Spencer Strider.
Then we could do some business.
Yeah.
Because then we can play Spencer Strider with Mackenzie Gore and Fade Woodruff.
Oh, geez.
Then we're off to the races.
Exactly. And by the way, tough matchup for Woodruff to be so popular. It's a team he faces all the time in St. Louis that while they've struggled early on, it's just a familiarity thing. It's not like 60% pitching doesn't sound ideal, but I still think most likely Woodruff and Kershaw are my 1 and 2. And in my non-Milwaukee lineups, I'll play some Flaherty. I will play some Bassett. Bassett actually is probably my number 3. I am not going to look at a 1-game sample of him getting lit up and go use that as a reason why not to play him against an Angels team that I think is still very suspect outside of the top 3 spots in their lineup. So those would be my pitchers. And then I'm just deciding between the Dodgers, the San Diego-Atlanta game, which maybe I can write off because of the weather, Toronto and Milwaukee.
Sheetbot said true DFS MLB projections have been updated. They should be available on SaberSim in a few minutes.
Certainly not going to be overweight on anything in Colorado, except for maybe some a one-off here and there. And yeah, like everybody's saying it, like somehow Eric Johnson likes Oakland. Oakland is not on any slate today. Are they even playing today?
Yeah, they're probably on like an afternoon slate on FanDuel or something like that.
I don't think they're on any slate today. They're not playing. But it's sort of an ongoing joke that Eric and I have because he's there they are. They're playing at 6. They're one of the 640 games. They're on the 640 game. The Tampa.
I will say, by the way, that those teams are probably going to be underowned on FanDuel.
It's
because they're only.
I agree with that. I just want to point out that it sometimes works the exact opposite because we can't.
Oh, the people! It's the only place they can.
Exactly, but on this slate, I think you're right. I don't think anyone's playing that game. So I'm going to jump over to FanDuel really quickly and actually talk about that because I think that's actually a really good point, like a really interesting point. And because there's so many, it's only 5 games, but we've got like legit high scoring. I mean, you've got 4 teams with 5 run totals. That just doesn't happen. That hasn't happened so far this early in the season. But Tampa, Zach Eflin will have some ownership on FanDuel. I think he's a very reasonable option. It's obviously a good matchup. I also don't mind Eric Johnson's take of maybe playing some of the A's. They're pesky. You've got they're incredibly cheap. You've got some stolen base upside with Kemp, Brown, power stolen base upside, power upside with Aguiar, power stolen base upside with Jace Peterson. Ledmus Diaz is 2,400 batting 3rd. Just Laureano power speed upside. I kind of like the idea of being that overweight Oakland. You know what? Maybe that's what I do in my FanDuel build. Maybe I throw in on behalf of Eric Johnson a little 3 or 4 man Oakland stack to complement my main stack. But I'm into that idea. And the other things that stand out on FanDuel is I think that I would have Woodruff over Kershaw. But the weird part is Woodruff is going to be 46% owned and Kershaw is going to be 8% owned. If you ask me who scores more runs tonight, more often against the starter, would it be Arizona or would it be St. Louis? Now I know you're playing it for the strikeouts. But should he really be 8 times, or no, actually, yeah, 8 times as owned as Kershaw? I don't think so. So I would play some Kershaw at low ownership if I wanted to play any of Colorado, Toronto, maybe the Dodgers, the teams that are going to be a little bit higher owned. But early on, I kind of like the Dodgers, Oakland stack on FanDuel, and then I can play me some Kershaw with it and just be off the board a little bit.
All right, I'll be back at 6.
Yep.
There's a chance I might be back in time for late changes if like Strider's pitching. Actually, Strider's later, right? So I'm not worried about that.
Yeah, we'll figure that out.
I'm going to be doing an MMA betting breakdown as well. But after you stop the live stream, I want to show you something.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, good luck, everybody, and we'll be live at 6 Eastern. I will be posting my core stuff and my builds and everything in the Discord channel today. If not, the site as well. And let's crush it. Please like and subscribe. See you guys soon.